What ability do we have to make face masks mandatory?
It's very difficult. I would never presume to speak for the sheriff, but it's a difficult thing to enforce.
Which tells me that we're not doing enough. We have to do something in order to make sure that more people are wearing face masks in public.
What's going on, buddy? Solieka here, and I'm going to let you know this lady, her name's Sarah Hurd. I tried to call her out during through that meeting. I was going to call her a tyrant. This lady's a tyrant. She wants it her way, and she wants it her way only. She wants to make this mandatory. She wants to keep your beaches closed for only Martin County. This lady doesn't understand her oath. She doesn't understand any principle of our Constitution. She's just completely oblivious, and that she does not need to be working for Martin County. There will be a bunch of information. If you need to call them about getting information from them, please give them a call, get some information from them, because I don't agree with this woman. She is a friggin' tyrant. She needs to be fired along with every one of those people up on that panel, and it's just wrong in every way, shape, and form. But don't forget, hit that like, share, and that subscribe button. I've got that July 4th giveaway. That's coming up. We got about just under a month and a half coming up. Real good time. Taking two subscribers, and 2 first-time shooters. Send me an email if you're a first-time shooter. Give me a little bit of a description of why you're interested in shooting. And then we also have a GoFundMe page that will be in the links below. Me and Orlando's Voice Transparency, we're trying to do an open carry trip from Florida all the way up to Pennsylvania, and we're going to be open carrying every state that we possibly can on the way up or on the way down. So there's going to be a lot of links. There's going to be some phone numbers and all that good stuff in the links below. If you need to get some information from Martin County commissioners, it'll be in the links below. So, and we're going to get into this. I mean, she's bad news, and she's no good for Martin County. So I'm going to get out of here. Solieka, deuces.
My observation is that since we've entered into the phase 1, that people have grown very comfortable. They're way too comfortable in public. I'm seeing much fewer face masks on people in public. Social distancing. I've seen party boats that are just full of people. It looks like January here or February here instead of what it looked like in March. And we have a chart of the COVID positive infections, a daily chart from 3/19 to today, and our statistics in May look as bad as they have ever. In fact, they look a lot like they looked the first week of April. So I'm really, really concerned about people not taking this seriously. They think that because some things are open that we're okay, we're over it, and we're far from over it. It's getting worse rather than better here. I think I'm really, really happy to hear about the pop-ups. I didn't know if people, because of fear, would not show up and get tested in the places where it was most important to get robust testing. So I'm really happy that 400 people showed up and 200 and something people showed up. So is it possible to expand pop-up testing, particularly in the areas that are most infected?
Yes. As long as we have the resources coming in, we can expand the testing, and my team and I have already been talking about that. So, initially with this first response, we had such a robust response, especially over at St. Joe's, that we did stop it at a certain point, because we do this first time around, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity throughout the county to come for for testing. And yes, that is in discussion.
And is that federal resources or state resources?
Those will be state resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we fairly certain that we're going to be able to expand pop-ups?
I would say, well, I guess I don't want to speak yet, but can I get back to you on that one?
Yeah. Whatever
All right,
we need to do.
Let me get back to you on that one. And I also feel that that's why, like Rob also reiterated the fact that how important it is that we keep pushing those prevention messages. I'm really thrilled that we're having that big box truck come, because it's all about prevention on that truck. And we can't stress enough, we do have to be diligent. We can't let our guards down. And I know we sound like broken records every week, but really, this is not going away anytime soon, and we just cannot let our guard down. We have to remember washing our hands, wearing a face covering, social distancing, as hard as it is for all of us.
What ability do we have to make face masks mandatory?
I don't believe that's...
I don't, you would need to have an emergency order that required that.
And then it comes down to enforcement, Commissioner Hurd. So,
Obviously, we're not doing a very good job of enforcing the regulations that we have in place right now, because social distancing is not working, in my estimation. I see too many cases of massing where there shouldn't be any. You know, if you have a restaurant that has a full parking lot, it's not at 25% capacity. If you have a party boat that has 20 people on it and it's 20 feet long, you're not practicing social distancing. So can we, you say that we can't make
I didn't
face
say
mask
can't.
mandatory?
I said you would pass under the governor's order, you can be stricter than the governor, and so you could make it mandatory. I can let you know that earlier this week, the city of Stuart passed a resolution, I believe, that encouraged its citizens to wear face masks. I understand, I know the Village of Indiantown has a mandatory provision, but again, it's very difficult. I would never presume to speak for the sheriff, but it's a difficult thing to enforce.
Well, we have to do something in order to make sure that more people are wearing face masks
Yes,
in
ma'am.
public.
well, there's also been, some legal challenges, if you will, as far as government trying to impose those types of regulations on individuals. And so I think there's a fine line that you have to be aware of as you go forward. I mean, you can educate and you can stress and you can, hope that people would do the right thing. But at the same time, I think, if you're trying to, the sheriff in his role would be, I think you'd be putting him in a very, very uncomfortable situation to try and make it mandatory and enforce, because there's some challenges with that and what our residents would be comfortable with. I think.
Well, do you think our residents are comfortable with these?
Well, Commissioner Hurd, every individual has a different level of tolerance in this situation. I think, what Carol Ann was alluding to as far as being able to have the resources available. Emergency management put the request in for the additional nurses. We were fortunate enough to get nurses that were coming from areas that are not as impacted, that had volunteered to come here to be part of that team. So whether or not those individuals will be available to us to continue this rigorous testing. And as we communicated, these numbers are going to continue to increase as our testing increases. But going back to the residents, I think we're happy to try and get the word out. We're happy to see if we can make additional resources available. But it's going to come down to a decision of the board, obviously, if we do an emergency order, but then working with our sheriff, and he only has so many deputies as well. So, we can't be at the beach holding monitoring that situation only for residents, and then we can't be throughout the whole county trying to enforce additional regulations. I think we only have so many resources here, so I think we can educate. absolutely, we can educate and we can get the word out. But enforcement is always going to be a concern.
Well, these statistics tell me that since we've started opening up, we're having higher infection rates, much higher infection rates. So whatever we can do in order to stem this tide, we need to do it. Yeah, I'm looking at the statistics on emergency room visits because of COVID-like illness, and the low point was 419, and it's been steadily ticking upward ever since 419, which is not a good sign. And also, yes, there's been more testing, but the positive rates are unacceptable. I'll read them. Since we're starting on May 5th, 11.3%, May 6th, 12.7%, May 7th, 35.5%, May 8th, 1.6%, 7.7%, 5%, 8.9%, 9.2%, 4.4%. Those numbers are just continuing to escalate. So yeah, we're doing more testing, but we're getting the percentages are really high, which tells me that we're not doing enough.
May I make a comment? I think that's why it's so critical we keep pushing those prevention messages.